the Supreme Novices Hurdle. We might start with you, Ed, as the local man. What are you fancying in the Supreme Novice?
I'm very much in the camp of Ballyadam for this, very strongly. I think Appreciate It's done nothing wrong. He's a very good horse. Obviously, he's a Grade 1 winner. CV kind of speaks for himself, but as I keep stressing, it's not rained here in 12 days. There's a maximum of 20 millimetres forecast the rest of this week, and then the whole of the festival is due to be dry. Look, the softest of the ground will be on the opening day, but nonetheless, this is going to be substantially quicker than anything they've been racing on this season. And I really think Ballyadam is a horse with turbo. Appreciate It is your, as Willie Mullins says, he thought there was a chance that horse could have even ended up in the Albert Bartlett at the start of the season. I think he's a horse who surprised him. He's a stare. He's bred to be a staying chaser. He's been grinding it out over 2 miles, but my feeling is he is susceptible with something with a turn of foot when other horses do get their conditions. Now, look, Ballyadam was beaten 12 lengths at Christmas. He's narrowed the gap to 4 and sprawled the last hurdle last time out. On soft to heavy ground. I'll be very interested on good to soft how well he goes. The better insight than me would be the insight of Jamie Codd, who rode Ballyadam on both his bumper starts, where on his debut on heavy ground he was turned over at 1-4, and then I can't remember where he went. It might have been down Patrick. He went to after on, I think they called it Yielding. The time suggested it was pretty much good, and he absolutely won head in chest. And Jamie Codd got off and said, "Crikey." The difference he felt the horse compared to heavy to good was absolute chalk and cheese. And I think that could be the key here. Like, I really do appreciate it. Metier are really not for me at the prices. I think he won a very poor Tolworth in bad ground. Flat horses, ex-flat horses have a shocking record in this contest. But I think Ballyadam, I really do think conditions are coming in his favour. We'll have to improve his jumping, definitely, but it's the signs are there. He is improving, and I think on better ground he will jump a lot better too. So Ballyadam to upset the apple cart slightly in the first. I'm very keen on his chances.
I think Sean might be frozen there. Andrew, this is actually being a good time to bring you in, because I know you, and I don't want to misquote you here now in front of Ed, but I know I won't misquote you, but basically you can't have Ballyadam to be appreciated and overturn the form. What's your kind of thinking there?
I just think he had every chance in the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought, he comes into this race with an each way chance. I wouldn't put people off backing him each way, but I think he's still got a plenty to find. I don't know. I think that the grounds against, going against Appreciated because of the ground, I don't buy that. He's ran once on yielding ground in Ireland, won a Grade 2 bumper by 8 lengths. So there's nothing suggesting he won't be good enough. And I'd think Metier is actually a lot more ground dependent. He'll need as much rain as possible. He was a soft, heavy ground horse for the Slatteries. Ballyadam, it's just his jumping would cause an awful lot of concern for me. He won the Royal Bond out of class more than anything, but the form of that, beating Caskmate and Ngolo, hasn't really stood the test of time. He's ran 2 okay races at Leopardstown. I wouldn't be massively keen on backing any of these Cheveley Park horses that have left Gordon's. I can't see that as being a help. I'm not for a second saying it's a hindrance, but I don't think it's a great thing, especially for a slightly younger horse. I just think Appreciated. People are just trying to take him on because of the price, and I do understand that. I personally can't believe he's not 5-1 given the amount of people that I've seen try to take him on. Like every man and dog seems to want to lay him, but I think I wouldn't back him right now. I'd back him on the day. I think a lot of bookies will try and maybe get him beat, maybe boost him to 2-1, 9-4. I think that's that's a fair enough price, and maybe take a prod at Blue Lord each way to run well. I thought he was given out plenty to do the last day in the Chanel Farmer race, and he might get a little bit closer to Ballyadam. And if he does that, he'd have good place possibilities.
Do you want to just come in there just on that point? Would you be concerned about the Cheveley Park thing and moving from Gordon Elliott's yard so close to the festival?
Not the fact it's so close. If this was 2 months ago, I would be worried because it would give the horses a time to get into a new routine, totally new way of working. It's like Ruby Walsh is saying. He says, if you were going to the Melbourne Cup, you would have left 3 weeks ago anyway. So to me, it's that close to the festival, and they're bringing the same feed, I believe, and the same hay. it's just a different room, if you see what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference going forward, settling into new routines. Paul Nicholls alluded to it, didn't he? He said he picked up a lot of the Willie Mullins horses like Stormy Island. He said she was just totally all over the place for the first couple of months. He got over a totally different way of working compared to Willie. Each trainer has their own idiosyncrasy. So I'm not worried in that point of view. Just a final point on the Supreme. We hear it every year, including on preview nights I've been on. 18 runner field, huge gallop. It's absolute nonsense. I've gone through this race. I've got it buy or sell at 7 runners, this field. I cannot see it being double figures. There was talk on the preview night the other night, Blue Law was going to go for the county hurdle. Sound like Ruby, I believe. I haven't actually seen it in person, but the comments were, sounds like he will go for the Supreme from what I gather he said last night. But either way, this race is cutting up to a very, very small field, 6 or 7 runners. So perhaps if you do fancy something at a big price, which you think will line up, even the Blue Lord angle, what's he now? 16, 18 to 1 now. If he lines up, he's got to start. He could even start single figures. So it depends which way you want to look at it. You either appreciate it, Cam. I totally accept that, respect it. But I still make. I think Ballyadam, 7 runners. If he jumps around, I can't see 3 ending ahead of him in a 7-runner field. Put it that way. I just think he's bang there, and on better ground. I said he was 4 lengths behind Appreciated last time out, despite making an absolute Horlicks of the last of ground he would have hated. So I think he will be at a lot closer if conditions, as Michael Fisher's forecast, are true, and we end up with some decent ground at Preston Park.
Yeah, Hugh. Sorry, go on. Sorry, yeah. Just to say that Hugh, you've heard the case for Appreciated and Ballyadam. Would you be in either camp?
I'm all over Appreciated. I backed him the bumper last year, and I still can't believe Freddie Hollow beat him. I'm still sick to my craw that he's beaten. I was backing him all season long, and it still gives me nightmares, to be quite honest with you. I think he won the last day. I know Ballyadam got closer, and as Abe was saying, and he did get closer, but his run of Christmas was too bad to be true. Gordon's horses were banging out of form, and the better ground was certainly hurt Ballyadam as well. But if you listen to Willie Mullins, who was, I think, shocked by what he did at Christmas in terms of 2 miles and the pace that he showed, and he won the last day. Paul got off him at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival and said, look, like he wasn't in good form. He didn't really travel in the race. He didn't really settle as well as he did, and he still managed to win out against some decent enough horses there. Ballyadam being one. I think Ballyadam will run a lot better, and I think the better ground will help him. And certainly, if you want to take Appreciated out, and I hope he does drift. I'm with Andrew. If he drifts to 2 to 1, I'll be having a good go with him. But perhaps Ballyadam without the favourite, if you're looking to avoid Appreciated, if you think he's too short. I will give a mention to Soaring Glory as well. I mean, I don't know if he's definitely going to go. I think there were murmurs today that they're not quite sure if they're going to actually definitely go to the festival. If he was to turn up in this, on the basis of what he did the last day in the Betfair hurdle, I think he'd have to have a big chance. And I'm with Ed. Like it's not a strong Supreme. I think I'm looking at it here. I'm even just probably 4 or 5 max that I can make a case for here that could actually go and win this. And that's why I'm going to stick with Appreciated, even though he is so short, because I don't think he has to beat much. But something at a bigger price, Soaring Glory, after what he did in the Betfair hurdle, if he does come out here and he's come out okay at the race, I think he might have a decent chance at a bigger price.
Jack, I was just going to ask you there. You've had 2 for Appreciated, 1 for Ballyadam. Are you going to make it 3, or are you going to make it 2-all?
Yeah, I'm going to make it 2-all. I mean, I think this does revolve around both of the 2 at the top of the market. I can't believe Metier's 6 to 1. I'm not having that Toll form. I mean, Tile Tapper was 3rd in a class 4, I think, afterwards. And you know what I mean, Harry didn't run any kind of race in the Betfair. I mean, Ballyadam did, of course, have to run 3 wide in the Dublin Racing Festival, and he didn't have the easiest time of it compared to Appreciated. And I think, of course, Appreciated is the one to beat. He's got it all on paper. He's done it all before. Of course, he has the Cheltenham form as well. But I just think Ballyadam, there's only one way, and that's up. I mean, he clattered into the last. He had to make up more ground. And, of course, Gordon, when he was with Gordon, said he will be closer to Appreciated. And I think I literally can't see anyone except Appreciated that beats him. And I just can't have that Appreciated is a 2-miler. He's a 2.5-miler dropping into a terrible division. This race has no depth. And I think Ballyadam, I've seen he's 4 to 1 without Appreciated. I think that's the bet. That would be the bet for me in this race, because if Appreciated does take to the ground, I don't think the ground will be too much of an issue. But I think 4 to 1 Ballyadam without Appreciated would be my way of looking at it, because I don't really think 7 to 1's too much of an each way prospect.
4 to 1 without Appreciated is a great bet, I think. I mean, that's a really good price. I mean, I'd be really having a good long look at that as well, definitely.
Dan.
Is that with many market? Yeah, sorry, is that with many markets, Jack, or is that?
I saw it with William Hill today. I haven't had a look elsewhere, so I'm assuming Sky Bet will have it as well. But it's definitely with William Hill.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what the lads say, I think we're kind of half of the consensus. Like, I do think Appreciate it's the most likely winner. But that mistake Ballyadam made at the last, and listen to the couple of cases for him, you can't really argue that at the moment. If anyone's looking for a bet, that's 7-1 each way. If we're going to get a 7 or 8 runner field, and even if Ed's wrong slightly, we're max going to get 10 runners. That would be my kind of where I'm looking at the moment, because 7-1, you're getting your each way bet on the 3 places, and that mistake at the last, and the more I watched that race, because if you asked me a month ago, I'd have said there's no way he's going to overturn the form. And while that may not be the case, you take into account what Jamie Codd said about good to soft ground, and there's no guarantee Appreciate it will come on for that good ground where there is for Ballyadam. So you're looking at, all he needs to do is make up 3 lengths on a completely different course. So asking me for the moment, Ballyadam is the bet for me. But look, on the day, I'll probably steam into Appreciate it with a lot of accas as well, like everyone else, especially if he gets the 2-1. I just can't resist a Willie Mullins favourite in Supreme. I can't not back it. I think I'm one of those people, like if Ballyadam won and I backed Appreciate it, I'd be okay. But if I backed Ballyadam and Appreciate it won, I don't know. I think it would hit me for 6, to be honest with you. So I'm kind of torn. But if you ask me for the moment, Ballyadam each way is actually going to be my selection here. So.
And moving on from that, last year's winner of the Supreme Novices was Shishkin. He's the favourite for the Arkle. We'll go to you, Andrew. Do you think at 10-11 that there's any real point in backing it?
No, I've kind of tried to steer away from having to make the decision between the top 2 in the market this year. I think they're both very good horses. If you were to pin me down, I'd probably back Shishkin on this slightly better ground than an Ergamine. But the one I'm quietly confident, the more the ground dries, is Captain Guinness each way in this. I still think he's too big at 16-1. Sometimes these races just fall a little bit flat, and especially in a 2-mile novice chase, things can happen, especially with All Mankind in the race, because he's going to inject a lot of pace and potentially a lot of drama into it. Captain Guinness, I think he would have finished second again at the Dublin Racing Festival if he didn't trip up 2 out. I think he's got a fair chance of finishing in the 3 here, and if something does happen to the 2 at the top of the market, he's probably the most likely to be sweeping up the goods. So I think at 16-1, it's just too big a price.
Ed, who do you fancy in this?
Shishkin. To be fair, I think ground will be fine. I think he's excited. I think if we had a softer heavy ground festival conditions very similar to last year, I'd be swinging more towards an Ergamine, who's clearly got the form over further, clearly stays well. The bowl for any jumper. I mean, as the race as a whole, there's going to be shed load of pace on here, isn't there? You'd imagine All Mankind and an Ergamine are going to go forward. Again, harping on about the small field syndrome, I've got this buy or sell it 6 runners: Shishkin and Ergamine, All Mankind, Captain Guinness, Franco de Port, possibly Darva Star, and I'll gather Sky Pirate him in an RM whether to let him take his chance or go for the Grand Annual. Outside that, you're into 100-1 shot. So this is then another small field. I'm with Shishkin. I mean, he won the Supreme last year, despite nearly getting brought down, despite the ground being an absolute bog. Showed real class and guts. He's jumping, got in close to a couple, and looked very clever in the way in which he got out of trouble on a couple of occasions. He's got in close to fences this year. Other than that, has looked wonderful, and I think he'll just jump these lot ragged. I agree with the point about Captain Guinness, and I actually think the tactics will be interesting here, because they've almost tried to really serve it up to an Ergamine on more than one occasion, and he's come a cropper. I think better ground's definitely in his favour. He was actually, to his credit, on bad ground, he was tanking in the Supreme last year at the time of his departure. I wouldn't be too surprised if in the similar kind of mould to Franco de Port, they just ride him a bit more with strength, and perhaps not say pick up the pieces, but kind of try and pounce late one long run, rather than, there's going to be so much gas on here, isn't there? I mean, all Mankind and Ergamine, there is a danger they could beat each other up at the head of affairs. So, I'd never back anything at Cheltenham. I'd never really back anything these days, less than 10-1. But to be honest with you, yeah, I think Shishkin going to win. I think there is a danger Ergamine and All Mankind could both blow out from a pace duel, and I think Captain Guinness could be the bit of the closer. So a tentative forecast would be Shishkin to beat Captain Guinness, but I just think it's going to be a small but select field, but it should be absolutely fantastic as a spectacle, shouldn't it? Really, to have those kind of 3 big guns all lining up. Just fingers crossed they all make it, because could be set for an absolute cracker.
Jack, would you agree there? And maybe with All Mankind, could he pose a threat?
I don't think so. I think, as Ed alluded to there, he's gonna blow himself out. I don't think Energumen will be set up too close to the pace of All Mankind. I think they'll be quite happy just to sit in behind. I don't think they'll want to blow out when they look at how All Mankind goes off to the first. I mean, the pace that they go off to the first is going to be absolutely insane, isn't it? But I just do think the race is going to be set up for Shishkin. I think the pace that All Mankind is going to go at with Energumen just in behind, and then Shishkin just in behind that. I can see Nico de Boinville coming to 2 out, and as Ed says, he when he's a bit tight, he adjusts his feet. His feet are so quick, and I love how he adjusts it himself. He's such a clever animal, isn't he? But I mean, it's definitely not a betting prospect. But the thing with Energumen for me is he does jump to his right a little bit. I saw it last time out, and I don't really like to see that. And I think Shishkin will probably be the one to out jump them on the day.
Hugh, is this a big Nicky Henderson and Willie Mullins clash?
It is. I think Energumen can win this race. I think he can beat Shishkin. I think he's good enough to beat him. I think 4-6 Energumen without Shishkin is free money, if you ask me. I can't have All Mankind. I think he's just too much of a headbanger. Captain Guinness, I've never been sold, and I'm like, if I was looking down, Driver Star is 40-1 as I'm looking on here, which is a huge price for a horse that ran a crack in the Supreme last year. I know he's been absolutely, whatever's been wrong with him this season, he's been out of form. He's never really settled. I thought they were going to step him up to 2.5 miles. I thought he might go for the march, to be honest with you. But they're sticking with 2 miles apparently, unless they change their minds, and Connections have changed their minds since then. So at 40-1 Driver Star each way, I think he could run into a place. But Energumen without Shishkin to me is one of the bankers of the first days. 4-6 with Paddy Power, and I'm going to have a huge bet on that. And I think I might have a small bet on Energumen just to beat Shishkin. I think he's capable of doing it. But without Shishkin, it's between those two for me, and I can't see anything else troubling those two. So Energumen without Shishkin, 4-6 banker of the day.
There you go. You
Famous last words. You might need a Harry Molly on the Wednesday to get me out of trouble if that doesn't win.
Yeah. Could be a long week. Dan, would you agree?
Yeah, it's a very interesting race. Like, obviously you've got and everyone knows the pace angles here at this stage, and All Mankind and Energumen. I'd actually agree with Jack. I have serious concerns about Energumen's jumping to the right. Now, I understand he did that incredible time at Leopardstown jumping to his right, but this is a different ball game in Cheltenham, and I think it might be the second last. I'm not overly sure, maybe the third last, or there's some bend that when you jump to the right, you're going to lose 3 or 4 lengths. And these were the concerns that were thrown at Notebook last year, and it doesn't seem to be, while people understand that he does jump to the right, he is 9-4 to beat Shishkin, who, for me, I think is as solid as you're going to get for an Arkle winner, a Supreme winner going in to win an Arkle at 10-11. But I'd be interested to ask the panel here, because we know that the old course is a front runner's track, right? But I don't think that's been brought too much into the analysis. Is that fair to say, lads, or is it more of a case that over the heavy ground over the last few years, that, for example, the Arkle favourite front runners over the last couple of years?
I'm on the fence for that. I'm on the fence for that one. Yeah, to be honest with you, I suppose this pace is a big thing, isn't it? Essentially, and I suppose each race has a different dynamic. If you go back to the days of in the last 10 years, it seems to have just been very uncomplicated for Mullins and Walsh, didn't it? You just bang Underso out in front and bang a Duvan out in front, and that was that. Just go and collect your bet and slip while the race hasn't finished. It's interesting. The thing is, I just got this feeling this race will be running at a hectic gallop. We saw it. I could remember it was about 3-4 years ago. It was in the race of Footpad and Petit Mouchoir, and they went off like the absolute clappers. Then at one stage, the Footpad was something like 18 lengths back, coming down the back straight. But they just couldn't sustain the gallop they were going, and the field just collapsed and it all came back to them. Like, I think each race has to be taken. There's no kind of rhyme or reason, the old course. All I like to say is, in previous years, odds off ground, yes, you could argue you've had the odd race which has been run a bit slower than others, but I think this is just, there's no hiding place here. If you touch a twig over this 2 miles, you're in big trouble. And I think if you run it at Searing Gallop, I think the race will be set up for a couple of those to close. I totally respected Doug. I mean, he's been fantastic, wasn't he? I mean, his time was comparable with Chacun Pour Soi in Ireland last time out. I just think on this better ground, Shishkin's such a strong traveller. He's been there and done it. He's got the Cheltenham form already in the book. And I think it's just going to be a small field, but it's going to be high on quality. And I get really cheesed off all these doomsdayers who go on about, oh, why have we not got 16 runner fields in National Hunt? Well, what do you want? Do you want the field chock full of 800 to 1 shots just to make up the runners? Like it's going to be a small, select, very high class field, and should be a wonderful advertisement for National Hunt racing.
Energumene's first time at Cheltenham, Andrew, is that a worry?
I suppose so. Just in terms of that horses have done well coming from the Supreme into the Arkle. I wouldn't perhaps share the same concerns as some would there. Even with his jumping, I think his jumping's electric. It's his jumping that's the reason he's at 2 miles rather than 2.5 miles. He's been absolutely superb. I suppose the only question is whether he can jump as well as that on better ground. But I see there being no reason to suggest why he can't. But I don't know. In regards to your thing about the pace angle, it's all about how horses jump. Like, Put the Kettle On just got into a good rhythm last year, and to be honest, horses were jumping like fridges in behind. Like brewing up a storm, I thought would have won the race if he could jump. Like, but he couldn't jump, and Moira Banri fell as well. Cashback didn't jump well. Notebook didn't jump well. Like, at Cheltenham, you've seen it happens in some of the big handicaps as well. Like, if you can get out in front and start getting into a real good rhythm, sometimes horses just kind of get themselves beat in behind by making mistakes. So it's all about jumping. The problem with All Mankind is that he's not a foot perfect jumper himself. So he's likely to do himself a bit of damage rather than something else.
Yeah, it was just the kind of angle I was thinking, because I hadn't heard it being discussed much. And if it is a kind of front runners track, then All Mankind could potentially, I think everyone's kind of going around the same lines that just because there's 2 front runners, they may burn themselves up. But in saying all that, I do actually think that will probably happen, and Shishkin will come to the 4. And I do think Franco Deport's not a bad bet at 20 to 1 each way, because he made an awful mistake down the back, or just as they passed the finish line, maybe the second fence there. He made an awful mistake and nearly came to a stop, and he did well to actually finish second to Energumene. So I do think he could be the potential each way play and I think that might be the way to go in this race. Like, while I love Shishkin and he probably beat a couple of my Akas, I do think that if you back someone each way, you can just sit back and almost watch the race unfold, because you know exactly what's going to happen here. So, but for me, Franco Deport each way is my final selection there.
I'll get everyone else's final selection. Go with you, Jack. Your final selection.
It'll be a no bet race for me, but I'll have to go with Shishkin.
Ed?
Exactly the same. If you haven't had a bet already, I wouldn't bother. We'll leave Hugh to get stuck into his hairy Molly 4 to 6 regime. That'll be. I'll cheer it on for him.
Andrew?
Yeah, I'll have a go at Captain Guinness each, right?
And Hugh?
Energumene without Shishkin.
There you go.
Yeah, just on that point, Hugh, because I you get an awful time on the Betfair podcast for backing odds on.
I get an awful time.
Is this true?
It's in every aspect of my life, Dan. To be honest with you, it's not just
well, here's your chance to defend yourself.
I know. I have a bit of a reputation for these short prize doubles, but I mean, I'm top of the leaderboard on the Betfair table, and Tony Calvin and Kevin Blake can't pick their fucking nose, just what you know. So, I have been kind of known to pick a couple of short prize doubles, but just on this, I think Energumene, I think he will. I'm going to back him to beat Shishkin. I think he's that good. I don't think we've seen the ceiling on him by any stretch. I know Shishkin's jumping has been brilliant. I'd question last year's Supreme a little bit. I mean, I was backed Abracadabra, so I just wonder how strong. I know he's been brilliant over fences this year, but I think he's good enough to win this race. And without Shishkin, I think is the way I'm going to play it.
Yeah, we're going to go to the champion hurdle now. An epitaph last year, winning it. It was a brilliant year for Barry Geraghty. I'll go to you first, Jack. Who do you fancy in the champion hurdle?
I am going to be in the Goshen camp, unfortunately, for some people to hear. I mean, the way he won that Kingwell was just electric for me. And I mean, he's had so many problems. He's had heart problems. He doesn't jump well, whatever. But I just think, considering he's done all that, he did beat the international hurdle winner by 22 lengths. And I know a lot of people were saying that the time wasn't that great because he was 5 seconds ahead of the novice on the same day. But of course, the Irish champion hurdle, which Honeysuckle won, was 2 seconds quicker than the Ladbrokes hurdle. So Sharjah wouldn't have even been placed in it. Epatant's fighting fifth win was 2 seconds quicker than a maiden on the same day. I mean, I think all the Kingwell did was kind of reinforce why people who like Goshen like him even more, or why people don't like him have to pick more holes in him. And I know he's giving Honeysuckle £7, and I think that's an almighty task. But I think when Not So Sleepy goes off at the pace that he does, and Goshen's just in behind, I think it's going to be a completely different test of Honeysuckle's jumping to what she's faced so far. And I know she's completely been perfect so far, but I just think this is a completely different kettle of fish. I know I'll probably be ending up with egg in my face when she wins by 5-10 lengths, but I'm going to stick with Goshen here.
Andrew, Honeysuckle is sort of an Irish hero. Do you think the Champion Hurdle is a step too far with the field, or are you fancying it?
The biggest obstacle Honeysuckle has to overcome is that my money's on her, and my money's never been on her before. I've always tried to get her beat and failed to do so 10 times in a row, and now I've finally swung around to her. I just thought she was electric in the Irish Champion Hurdle. She just jumped a lot slicker than she did the previous year. She put a decent enough field to bed. She stays well. I think she'll be able to get a decent lead. I'd just be concerned that they will go very, very hard in this. Not So Sleepy, Silver Streak, Aspire Tower, Goshen, all of them want to go very hard in front, and whether that's just going to set it up. I think the likes of Honeysuckle and Epatante will be in that second wave of horses. And I'd maybe back Honeysuckle just to be a slightly bigger stare. One that I just think is being slightly forgotten in the market, and he is a bit of a Marmite horse. But Sharjah, I just think the way the race is going to be run, it may just collapse. And I think it might suit one of these, the likes of a Sharjah or an Abacadabras to run into a place. I don't really like Abacadabras as a horse. So I've gone with Sharjah instead. As I say, they might go hard. It might just set it up for a closer, and he might run into the frame like he did last year. But I'll be on Honeysuckle. But I'd beware anyone that has backed Honeysuckle that I am also backing her, because these things usually have a funny way of going against me.
Hugh, would you agree with Andrew on Sharjah, second Epatante last year?
Yeah, he's a big price, and I think Abacadabras is a big price as well. I mean, I backed Abacadabras in the Supreme last year, and I thought he had it won, to be honest with you. But he hasn't run up to what he can do this season. I think the better ground is definitely going to help him. And coming back to Cheltenham, where he won a cracker last year as well, I think it's a big old price. Of the two, if Andrew's saying Sharjah, I'd be kind of leaning towards Abacadabras of those two. But I'm with Andrew completely. I think Honeysuckle's performance in the Irish Champion Hurdle, and I'm like Andrew, I haven't backed her ever. I've never backed her. And I was Epatante all season long until she got beaten by Silver Streak. And even at that, didn't fully put me off, because I thought she wasn't right there. And, I spoke to Barry Geraghty about it. He said, look, she just wasn't right, and she had some kind of a small creak on her back, whatever that. But we haven't seen her since then. And I just would be a little bit nervous that running, not to take it away from Silver Streak, but that running was not anywhere near to her true form. It's Honeysuckle, she's unbeaten. She blew them away in the Irish Champion Hurdle. Like, I don't think she's particularly ground dependent. I know that people say that the softer the better for Honeysuckle, and I can understand that, because she does stay further. But I think she can do it at anything. And just with the £7 allowance, I'm coming down with Andrew on this, and I've never backed her either. So Jesus, lads, God help Honeysuckle and make the black one go.
Everyone needs to layer right now.
One I would give mention to at a huge, but a bigger price is Aspire Tower, and I know he's like 5-year-olds, apart from Aspire Dallin, and I think before that catches. I think he's a kind of a forgotten horse as well. We haven't seen him in a while. He's 20-1, could run a big race here, and I'd be looking at him maybe small stake each way at 20s, but Honeysuckle for me is the most likely winner.
I'm surprised that Hugh's not going for Honeysuckle without Goshen. Is that not tickling your fancy even?
That's a low blow now, Hugh.
And Goshen at 10-1 on Jack, yeah.
Jack, I'm just going to ask you about Nicky Henderson's form in the race, and he's won this on 8 occasions, the Champion Hurdle. Do you see him making it 9?
I just think Epatante got beaten fair and square, and I think she will probably be the party ruiner if she was to win it. Because for me, it's between Honeysuckle and Goshen. Because nothing went right, did it? Nothing went right in that Christmas hurdle. I mean, she didn't jump very well. She didn't find much off the bridle, and I couldn't personally back her after that. And I know Nicky Henderson usually goes well when he gives them a break from Christmas. He's had a good record at Cheltenham in general with that. But I just think Epatante's not something that I'm definitely going to be getting stuck into. It was, as you said, all season until then. And I mean, James de Burley's an intriguing candidate as well. I mean, he's still sticking in there about 16-1. And I don't know if he's definitely going to go. I mean, of course, he's going to be a nice chaser, But of course, he came over from France. But I just find him a pretty intriguing candidate. I think he's 20-1. He is there. I think he's a bit of an intriguing one outside who I'll definitely be keeping an eye on away from the front lot.
Ed, you've heard the lads' take. What's your take on the champion hurdle?
It's a funny old race, this, because for various reasons you can pretty much pick holes in all of them. I think the percentage play probably is Honeysuckle. Clearly, she's never lost a blimmin' horse race, for goodness sake. She's getting the £7. She's a previous Cheltenham Festival winner. However, again, I'm harping on the time she dropped back to 2 on the quickest ground she faced. I mean, she scraped home by 3/4 of a length to Petit Mouchoir in the Irish Champion Hurdle. She didn't look quite as happy. And if we do get quicker ground on the old course in a race where there's, again, a load of pace on, last year on pretty much heavy ground, she looked comfortable over 2.5. It just poses a different set of circumstances to what she's used to. Not to say she probably can't, but again, it's just another question. Epitome is a funny one. I mean, let's not forget, we have very short memories here. She absolutely wiped the floor with the opposition in this race last year. I mean, she canted into the race, push button, bang, went up the hill. Two ways of looking at it. You're either getting 7-2 about a mare who absolutely hacked up last year, or when you look at the facts on the race course this year, you're getting 7-2 about a mare who hasn't been seen for 3 months, has had physio for kissing spine and got absolutely smashed at Kempton last time out. I suppose part of the price at 7-2 is you're putting the trust in the fact that her trainers train 62 Cheltenham Festival winners, and you have the faith in Henderson getting her back to best for the big day. Goshen, look, the ground was pretty soft. I'd give him a chance, but I just wonder whether he can live with these. I mean, his run at Wincanton, I mean, he absolutely bolted up, didn't he? And it was just great to see him back. I think that is the kind of key mantra from the kind of racing story. We all know the kind of the more story with it as well. However, I mean, if you take that form literally, he's run to a mark in the mid-170s, which puts him in Istabrack kind of category. Song for someone clearly underperformed. He ran a very good race. The truth is, I think Goshen's form is somewhere probably in the middle of that. Nonetheless, it's great to see him back. He seems to be in fine fettle, but I just... A lot of his best form has come on very deep ground, and I just would take last time out to run with a pinch of salt at the price. Look, I know if you're on it, I'm looking from price perspective. If you're on it 20-1, you're laughing. He's now 4-1 to beat the reigning champion hurdle winner, an unbeaten mare, multiple Grade 1 winners. There's Grade 1 winners all over the place. I just think he's up against it. So long and short of it, I think the horse in here who's an insulting price is Abracadabra's at 12-1. He gets given all sorts of names of criticism. He's a 2-time Grade 1 winner. He did everything but beat Shishkin in this last year. I mean, to get within a nose of Shishkin is looking like pretty decent form now, it has to be said. I think the race will be run to suit. I think he'll be ridden quietly. I think the drying ground will definitely suit him. He's been to Cheltenham twice. As I say, he's been beating the nose in the Supreme. He ran really well in the bumper. I think he actually touched odds on in the bumper the time he finished fourth. I suppose the question mark, 2 question marks about him you've got are arguably, has he quite kicked on and gone up a level from, as you would expect from last season? That's still open to debate. I suppose you could argue he hasn't really had a race run to suit or on his ground yet this season. And secondly, what will he really find when coming off the bridle? Well, in truth, I think he found plenty enough last year. It was just on ground that wouldn't have been necessarily in his favour. They pulled a long way clear of Chantry House. Was it about 10 lengths or so? And I just think this would be set up perfectly. I'm shocked he's still double figures, to be honest with you. I'd have him in here around 6-1 shot. I generally think he'll jump round. This will be a slightly bigger field. He's a strong traveller. He's got Cheltenham form, and I'm disappointed if he's out 3 personally. I think out the front 3, at least one's going to just totally bomb. I think this is going to be another fiercely run race. I'd buy the angle in the similar vein of form of Abracadabra's with Sharjah as the bit of the Ronan Groom. Look at it, all hail the long shot there. Rogie's had too many diet lemonades. I used to work at Ronan. He's in the Irish field now, Ronan. Top man, Ronan is. He's we worked together racing post for many a year. But I think Sharjah not forget, ran a really good race, and Barry Geraghty almost got first run on Patrick Mullins last year in the Champion Hurdle. I think Sharjah will come from off the pace. I think Abracadabra's will come from off the pace, but I generally do think Abracadabra's the horse was not right at Christmas. He scoped badly with mucus in his lungs, similar to Ballyadam. I think he'll be flying for this. And he's my each way play. If you ignored prices and just said, who do I think will win, I would probably go with Honeysuckle. So essentially, I'm Honeysuckle and Abracadabras as my kind of 1-2 in any order.
Dan, we recorded our Cheltenham Day 1 preview before the Kingsway hurdle. It's a bit of a regret now.
we didn't mention Goshen, which is shocking. Obviously, it's shocking now, but at the time, like, and I love Goshen. I have him in some multiple. I backed him in a Trixie at 5-1 straight after Cheltenham last year. Like, I was all in on Goshen, and I was absolutely sick of him the last day, and I gave up on him, and I think kind of just forgot about it, to be honest with you. And then actually, funny enough, I was listening. I think it was your podcast, Hugh. On the Friday, was it Kev? Kev kind of gave him a shout out, or it might have been someone gave a good shout out to Goshen and excused his last from when he finished last. And then I kind of got a bit worried, not just because, mainly because we just forgot about it on the podcast. And then obviously he won so well. And I didn't back him now or anything, but just great to see him back.
Well, it's for me, I think the champion hurdle division, like if you think back to 4 months ago, we were saying it's Epatons to lose. Like, there's literally nothing else really that's going to touch her, because Goshen was gone at the game. Like, Honeysuckle wasn't even being considered really for the champion hurdle at that stage. Abracadabras ran so badly. Now we have a proper race, and it's brilliant because the champion hurdle is probably one of my favourite races of the week. We have a proper race now, and you can make a case for half a dozen of these and a couple of interesting outsiders. I think it's a cracker in the race now.
If I could just make another point, in defence as a counterpoint to Goshen, I am saying I wouldn't really be taking him on what he did last time. I think that the form is a bit of a red herring. It's more the fact he's clearly happy in himself. Gary actually spoke to Gary Moore for another show last week, and he was saying that this is a horse who, a bit like me, wakes up on a Monday morning, my shoulders cranked. To wake up on Tuesday with a headache. To wake up on Wednesday, I've got them. He's a very hard horse to keep everything ticking over at 100%. You get him to the racetrack in that vein of form, that's half the battle. The bigger form pointer would be last year's Triumph, which in the aftermath, everyone was kind of crabbing, but with the great benefit of Lord Hindsight, he would have thumped Aspire Tower with 15 lengths, all mankind would have been out with the washing. Suddenly, you're looking at like the best Triumph hurdle winner, even surpassing our Connor in terms of if he jumped that last hurdle and got home. So, yeah, I just would go against him. It's great to see him back. And as Hugh says, this race a couple of months ago was just looking like a bit of a non-event. Now it's suddenly really spicy, really looking forward to it. I just would have reservations. Goshen's best, or at least Racing Post ratings for what they're worth, would suggest that he runs at least £8 to £10 better when the heavens have opened. So, we're taking it as not foregone conclusion we're going to get good to soft. But as I said, I think it's a picky little race. I think percentage play Honeysuckle. But I generally do think Abracadabras is massively overpriced on what he can achieve. I think to have him 3 times the price of Goshen, given he's a 2-time Grade 1 winner and has good Cheltenham Festival form, in my view, he's just the wrong price. But I just love the Champion. It was my favourite race of the year, so I'll shut up. Otherwise, I'll still be here at midnight. No,
it's brilliant. Just on Hugh's point, I actually saw an old tweet. I was searching for a bit of research, and someone had tipped up Epatante straight after she lost the Christmas hurdle, but she was like, I think maybe 7-4 or 2. It was a shocking price, and I remember I just scrolled past it going, it can always be worse, lads. You might have just tipped that, and it was a well-known tipster. I won't name him, but just on your point, Ed, the Goshen, you're actually just giving me reminders. Anytime someone brings up that Triumph, I'm literally standing in line with the last fence. I haven't him backed, and he posted 25-1 after he won at Fontwell. And it was mostly I kind of like listened to tips more so, but this was what I really liked him, and then everyone was just giving out how terrible he's right-handed, he won't even go kind of thing. So I not gave up on it, but when it started coming and people started like Tony Munn saying he's a freak of a horse, I got right in on him. And then when he missed the last, like I put my head down, like I was kind of squatting on the floor, like as I was standing up, and I don't think I looked up till the race was over. Like I just in absolute tears. But more so for Jamie Moore, I just can't get over how terrible a situation that is, and it would be some story, Jesus lads, if he won it this year, like, you know what I mean. But for me in this race, to go back to it and not to keep it too long, it's Honeysuckle. I've gone completely against myself there, but I really liked, and I think she was almost underappreciated with her win against Benny Dadu, because she got that inside rail. And while I understand that, potentially that could have been race defining moment, I still think she'd have stayed up the hill ahead of Benny Dadu. I only watched the race there last night to be sure myself. Like she just seemed like she was always, if any horse came to her, she was going to keep going. And I so long as she's in touch on that bend, if she's in touch on that bend, she's going to win the race. I'm no doubts about it. She's going to stay. But the only concern I'd have potentially is if Goshen is a freak of horse and quick and away, but I just don't see that at the moment. So Honeysuckle for me, and I do think 5-2 is not too bad a price, because while it is competitive champion hurdle, I think it's competitive in the sense that there's a lot of really good horses, but I do think she could possibly be the best of these. So yeah, for me, Honeysuckle.
So just go around, get your final selections quickly. Starting with you, Hugh.
Honeysuckle.
Ed.
Abracadabras each way.
Jack
Goshen for me.
and Andrew.
Yeah, honeysuckle with Sharjah.
It'd be some story, wouldn't it, if Goshen came back to win. Next race we're going to quickly look at is the Mayor's Hurdle. Any fancies for this, Andrew?
Yeah, I think the favourite's going to be hard to beat. I don't like Roxana around Cheltenham. I don't think it's her track. I know she's won a Mayor's Hurdle, but I don't think she suits flatter tracks. A couple of these have had dodgy enough preps. I've backed Black Tears each way for the race. I'd probably be looking at her in the without market as well on the day. I think she's got a very good chance of running a very good race. She's got good festival form. And I don't know, I'm just not quite sold on Concertista, so therefore I probably won't be going in at those odds. I actually would really have liked to have seen Concertista in the Champion Hurdle. I think she's a better
Andrew, what price did you make Concertista if she ran in the Champion Hurdle? Like, she'd be short enough, wouldn't she? Like, she'd be.
I'd say she's. Would she be 5-6 to 1? Should be.
Yeah, that's what I put her. Yeah, that's what I put her.
Yeah, I just think a fast run 2 mile. I genuinely think a fast run 2.5 miles she mightn't stay. I think she's got a lot of speed, and I've been campaigning for her to run in the Champion Hurdle all year, but I wouldn't be maybe just ploughing in, even though the race doesn't look great, the Mayor's Hurdle. So Black Cheers each way for me. I think she boasts decent enough form, and I think I'd be disappointed if she was out of the 3.
Ed, Concertista is quite short at the moment. Would you be with Andrew and kind of going away from it?
It's tricky. At the prices, yes, purely because there's 2 ways of looking at this. Essentially, I think we're thinking Concertista is a bit better than she already has proven she is. I think she could still be very good. But put it this way, if you're going to go by official ratings, she's rated 153. The market would suggest she's £10 clear. Well, Roxana is rated 153. She'd only be giving, £5 a Dame de Compagnie. Black Tears is only £4 behind her. Verdana Blue sounds like she's going to run. She'd only be getting £2 in the handicap. I don't think she's as far clear as the market suggests, if put it that way. And also, bigger concern, rather than all the kind of facts and figures, is you watch her run from last year, very soft ground. She has a fair old knee action on her, this mare. And again, I'm harping on boring everyone to tears with the ground, but I do think there's only certain horses who go on everything. The really, really top horses, and they clean up and win everything no matter what you're racing on. I just have slight reservations about her on a sounder surface, whether she'll be quite as effective. She ploughed through the mud last year and looked excellent. In answer to your question, I think she's now a rancid price. Roxana, if she can kind of, she has won this race before in her defence, and if she can kind of run to the form of which she showed behind Paisley Park and Time Hill early in the season, she's got to be in the equation. As a tentative each way, although the price is shrinking, I've backed Dame de Compagnie at 14s. I think she's now around 7s. Of course, she won the Coral Cup last year. I think the race would be run suit. She's got good festival form. And again, I'm just kind of coming through the old, the blurry long shot goggles, if you like. She's not much of a long shot, but in the to not sit here to saying 5 to 4 shots are good things. I respect Concertista, definitely. I just think the market suggests she's a lot better than she already is, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm Dame de Compagnie as an each way alternative. And again, if there was one I was going to throw in as a kind of a Hail Mary, indefatigable. Yeah, that's hard to do after a few glasses of Merlot. But anyway, that one.
I thought you did all right.
We're getting there. But yeah, Paul Webber trains that mare, and of course she won the handicap hurdle there last year. She's not had a ground at all season. Paul Webber said that. He said she's a one-trick pony. She enjoys Cheltenham, enjoys spring ground. She's traipsed around in the bog all winter. She's got course and distance form, and she's 28 to 1. Again, I could see this cutting up into about a 7 or 8 runner race. Depends which way you want to play it. You're kind of with Concertista, or you're looking for the each way alternative. So I'd be I'm tentatively Dame de Compagnie and Indefatigable each way against the favourite.
Hugh, this is a race that Willie Mullins has dominated. He's obviously got Concertista. Did you see him winning it again?
I would back Concertista if she was running the Champion Hurdle, but I completely agree with Ed. I think she's too short on Andrew. Like, she's 5 to 4, and she could be a brilliant mare, and in this race she could be head and shoulders above the rest. I like Roxana as well, but I can't have her at 5 to 4. I'm going to take a bit of a wild swing here at a 50 to 1 shot.
No way.
Yes.
No way. This doesn't help your reputation, Hugh.
It doesn't. I know. I've
Better 4 to 6 shots than Harry Molly. No, we will put that now.
I'm on my third bottle of gin here, so maybe that's where my fitness. I think I'm going to back my sister Sarah each way here, and just the case for her is that her best form has always been on good ground, good to soft, which she's likely to get at the festival if things hold up the way they are. She ran it. I think the last time she ran it at Limerick or Leopardstown was at heavy ground. She just absolutely hated that. And if you look at, she's very consistent. You go through a record in the last kind of 6-7 races. She's only been outside the top 2 twice in her last 6 runs. And if she gets her ground and she gets a nice pace early on and just settles nicely, and her jumping is a little bit dodgy at times, but if she just settles early on, I think she's an absolutely ridiculous price of 50 to 1. Concertista could be superstar here in this division, and if she wins, good luck to her. But my sister Sarah, 50 to 1 each way for me is a massive price. So I know I'll be backing her.
Jack, who do you fancy?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with ABW. I mean, first of all, listening to Ed, I think only about 10 horses are turning up on the Tuesday listening to all these 5-6 races. No, but I'd agree with ABW. I think Black Tears is still an okay price at 14 to 1. I mean, she didn't run a great race in November at Punchestown, but I think her third in behind Concertista was quite nice. She was pretty much stride for stride just on the inside of her the majority of the way around until the home bend when Concertista quickened away. She's won on good ground, good to soft. I mean, in 2019 when she was at Cheltenham, she was 4th on good soft. Of course, she was 2nd in the Coral Cup last year. Loves Cheltenham. And I think her win at Punchestown, I mean, Great White Shark being withdrawn from that was an absolute godsend because she had quite an easy time of it on the way around. And I can't see her being outside the top 2. Constantise is just too short for me at 5 to 4. I mean, her win in the Mayor's Novice was great. Don't get me wrong. She hasn't really done too much wrong. But from a price perspective, if you look at 5 to 4 about Constantista or just odds on when you look at Envoy or Monkfish, I think there's not too much value there in Constantista. I mean, yeah, she's obviously the one to beat, but I think Black Tears each way is the way I'll be looking at it.
Dan?
Yeah, I feel like a bit of a mug here now because I think I'm going to be the only one steaming in a 5 to 4 on Concertista. But but maybe it's just because she got me out of a hole. Because I kind of just went with it was one of the races I had no opinion on really last year, so I kind of, yourself, if you're kind of struggling, like 5 minutes to go, I kind of put a stupid amount of money on Concertista based on someone tipping her up. But I was so impressed in how she won. I understand it wasn't the strongest, and the best thing that ever happened to Concertista was losing that Mayor's Novice 2 years ago by a head, so she can stay in novice company the following year. And then what she's done nothing wrong since. And I don't think this field is pretty poor because, like, I similar to Alex who's just commented there. I think Roxana is she's a serious mare, but she's definitely better over 3 miles. And like, she obviously won the mares a couple of years ago. Benny to do, she was a bit disappointing last year. I think she finished 4th. And then outside of that, you got Dame de Compagnie. She's more of a handicapper. And obviously Black Tears, yeah, she could go okay. She was okay there at the last day. There a couple of weeks ago, but for me, I just think Concertista at 5 to 4 because she's not up against much, and like you kind of said, she's more of a 2 miler, but this is going to be potentially on better ground anyway. That she, a 2.5 miles should be no issue, and she obviously won over 2.5 miles the last day. But I'd be pretty happy at Concertista 5 to 4. I'd kind of, out of all the shorties on the Tuesday anyway, I definitely would be following in on her. Now I am kind of wary that it's not just this preview night, it's pretty much all preview nights are kind of going against her, which is never a good sign, so I'll probably wait on the day and see what happens. But I think she's a really good mare, and I do think that we could be talking about her winning the Mayor's Hurdle for the next few years. I really do, because I just think she keeps it pretty simple. And now maybe she might go champion next year or something. She could potentially be better over 2 miles, but just on the ground, I don't want to bore people too much, Ed. I'm not getting bored personally, so I'll just have is it going to be a little bit softer on the Tuesday, obviously, but how soft are we talking here? Is it going to be, it's good to soft, obviously, is that like they're going to potentially have to water the track to keep it good to soft, but is it going to be good is it going to be more good than soft kind of thing then?
Well, if they were to start racing tomorrow, the ground officially be good to soft, good in places. It'd be very similar back to the October meeting. It's mad, really, considering the last 2 Cheltenham meetings have been abandoned because you'd have been ship sailing on it. Like, so it's it really, that's right. I'm not exaggerating. It was 14 degrees here today, not a cloud in the sky. Sun was just hammering down the track. There's up to depending on whether you look at the Norwegian weather or the BBC weather. There's up to 20 millimeters coming in tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, and it's what kind of amount of that we get is going to have a big bearing on how things are for the Tuesday, to put it blunt. But looking at Cheltenham week itself, just on a wider point, it looks dry all week and temperatures heading up into double figures. So it's every chance they could be watering by Gold Cup Day to take the sting out of it. I don't think that's I don't think that's a total pie in the sky kind of thought. But the ground will be at its slowest on the opening day, and of course they'll never let it get too quick. But I'll be shocked if it was anything worse than good to soft in places. The weather forecasts are to be believed.
Do we know if Roxana is going to go in the stairs or in the mares?
No,
Sorry,
well, I should say the quote I saw with Dad Skelton said he basically wants to get to the track and walk it to find out what's going on, because he is concerned if the ground did go too quick, they would go for the stairs hurdle, and obviously she'd get the mare's allowance. So I think it's going to be a bit of a late call with them. And it touches on the points that everyone else on the panel has been making, that again with the small field syndrome. But again, she comes out. I mean, she's that's 24% of the market or whatever, who's gone again, and the race cuts up him even more, and Concertista goes odds. So yeah, there's a few imponderables, and again, I've got nothing really wrong with Concertista. It's just the price. People seem to acting about as if this is already kind of almost firing on Annie Power syndrome. I think she's a very good mare. I'd just be slightly worried on the ground, and just there's every chance here she goes off 4-6 if Roxana doesn't run. Yeah. I just don't get excited about horses at those prices.
Well, if she goes off 4-6, I'm all over it. So we'll see what happens.
She's not about 11-10. But I'm just going to steal Andy Postking's comment. Concertista for me there, Sean. Just a question before you go to final selections. Hugh, is there potential that my sister Sarah could go Carl Cup?
There is. And to be honest with you, I don't think it should be 50 to 1 on the day. So you're kind of, it's not a 1-0 bet in all bookmakers at the moment. So you're taking a free stab at 50 to 1. I just think if you take Roxana with that and she goes for the stairs, and Honeysuckle's not going to run here. I can see the case for Black Tears. After her win the last day, Verdana Blue, I can't have it. She just, for whatever reason, has been wrong with her this season. Great White Shark, I don't think she's going to run on this. I think she'll probably go up to one of the handicaps. So my sister Sarah at 50 to 1 now, not 1-0 bet. Each way, if you're getting 4 places or whatever, with 50 odds, you're getting 10 to 1 to place. I think is a good bet. So that's the case for her.
I'll go around asking for everyone's selections. I'll start with you, Jack. Your selection.
Black Tears each way for me.
Ed.
Dame de Compagnie each way.
Andrew.
Same as Jack. Black Tears each way.
And Hugh.
My sister Sarah each way, unless Concertista hits 4-6, in which case it's Concertista.
I'll get a quick word off everyone for the National Hunt Chase. Maybe starting with you, Andrew. Is this a race you look forward
to? Not particularly, really. I've had a dreadful.
It's a 3.6 miler.
I have had a dreadful record in this race, and to be honest, my heart was broken when Discorama got beaten it 2 years ago. I was standing in the Cabinteely Paddy Power on my knees. Couldn't believe it. Everyone in the shop had backed Discorama as well, and the whole place just let out this massive. So yeah, no, and they got my fingers burned last year on Carefully Selected. So not good recent form. I'd be prepared to take on the 2 at the top here. Actually, I don't like Royal Pagaille in this. I don't like Galvin in this, and I really hope whoever's calling the shots now in Gordon's runs Oscaria 10. I think he's got a whopper chance in this. I'd give him much more of a chance in this than the Ultima. I think he might be a little bit inexperienced for the Ultima. The Irish have a dismal record in that race as well. If he runs, I'd be backing him. Also, just monitoring where Pencil Full of Lead runs, I'd give him a squeak somewhere. But maybe those 2 Gordon Elliott horses, if either of them turned up, I'd gladly take on the 2 at the top of the betting.
I'll go to you, Jack. Same question. Do you enjoy this race?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm all over Galvin here, if I'm being honest. I mean, seeing him drift to 9-2 because he's changed stables a week before the festival, I find that obscene. Especially as we're on about good to soft ground here. Royal Pagaille hasn't been seen on anything from soft to heavy. Anything but soft to heavy. I mean, I can't see him running here if it's good to soft. We know he needs that kind of testing ground. I don't even think he'll go to Cheltenham full stop, because I don't think he'll have the greatest chance on good to soft, especially, I know it'll be the first day, so it'll be the softest that it is, but I think 15 to 8 about Royal Pagaille. If you take him out of the market, then Galvin's even 6 to 4. I think 9 to 2. If you're that way inclined, you can even back it each way. I mean, the way he did it just before Christmas, he's got all of his running the right side of Christmas, which I like. And when Robbie Power asked him for a little bit up the Cheltenham hill, he responded really nicely. And of course, even though he's not with Gordon's record in this is just impeccable. I mean, he's 4 out of 9, and all 4 that have crossed the line have won. The other 5, there was 3 fallers, 1 unseat, and Cottage Oak was pulled up at 66 to 1 back in 2012. I mean, it's quite hard to argue with Gordon Elliott's hand in this. And of course, he has changed to Ian Ferguson a week before the festival. I don't think that's too much of an issue, especially because I don't know what kind of work he has, but he's had all of his running the right side of the festival. I think 9 to 2 is a really nice price, especially given we're having good to soft. He had good ground before Christmas. He acts on good to soft, especially, and I think he's set up for this nicely at 9 to 2.
Hugh, I'm just going to ask you on that with Galvin. When we did our preview, he was 7 to 2. He's now 4 to 1, 9 to 2 in places. Do you kind of agree with the bookmakers' tendency to move the odds based on obviously a lot of horses moving from Gordon and the difficulties they've had?
No, I don't. Like, I completely agree with what Ed said at the start of the program, which Jack said there. Now, it's too close to the festival to really have a material difference. And, you know, if I was Gordon Elliott and if I was Henry de Bromhead taking some of the Chevy Park horses or wherever they've gone, I would get their handlers in from the yard to travel over with the horse and do whatever they can to make sure that the horse has the best chance. It's too short a time frame to make any material difference. They're pretty much going to be on the boat over the next whatever, if they haven't left already, some of them, whatever the routines are going to be. So no, I'm not having it at all. So I completely agree with the 2 lads. If you like the horse, this close out to the festival, it changes in scenarios. Unless the horse is a complete paranoid freak and can't handle, like, you know, literally a night or 2 in a different box, then I don't see how it's going to make any difference. For this race, quickly, if Next Destination runs here and not the RSA or what is it, the Browns Advisory. Now, if Next Destination runs in this, I'll back him. I hope he does run in it, because obviously nothing would beat Monkfish. So I'd love to see Next Destination have a crack here, and 11 to 1. I think, I mean, I've been so impressed by him this year. When you consider how long he was off the track, he ran that hurdle race at the start of the year. He followed up with a brilliant win over fences. I'd be all over him at 11 to 1 each way if he was to go on this and stay away from Monkfish, which I hope he does.
Ed, who do you fancy?
I don't. I backed Dicky Diver anti-post for this. That's all gone bizarrely wrong. They were looking to try and get qualified at Catterick, weren't they? Only this week. Anyway, Nicky Henderson all but confirmed last night that he won't even. Basically, he's going to entry. That's that. I will, if he lines up and goes off around 6 to 4 short, I will lay Royal Pagaille. I mean, there's 2 ways looking at it again. Officially rated 166. I mean, he's got stacks in hand over his rivals here, but all his form in a swamp on flat tracks. I just think he could be a little bit of a false price. I think he's been flattered. You know, he's been beating up horses very well who are rated in the mid 130s. I think it's going to be different kettle of fish. So I don't really have a strong view. I'd potentially lay him price dependent. In regards to Ascaria 10, I would be interested if he did line up. However, obviously he's owned by Max McNeil, whose company is Ultima, and he's entered in the Ultima. And given that Kiltilly Briggs' other entry has pretty much all been confirmed for the plate on the Thursday, would make me think they are going to head that way off 147. So in answer to no strong view, but 6 to 4 short of probably lay Royal Pagaille, but a race I'm quite happy to probably sit out.
Dan?
Yeah, no real strong opinion here. I would say that I kind of went through the exchange last night. So those horses listed are ones that are pretty much similar to the exchange price. So by the looks of the exchange, he's still kind of being looked at here for the National Hunt Chase. That's Ascaria 10. But for me, I kind of agree with the lads. I get a bit of a surname vibe out of a Royal Pagaille, and we all know how that ended up. So at the prices there at the moment, Galvin, 4 to 1, I think it's no runner about. I think the 92 might be without it, but he's definitely going to go here, isn't he? So, I'd probably lean towards him, but I don't have any great strong opinion. So final section, if you have to push me, would be Galvin. But I'd be similar to the lads. I kind of have reservations about Royal Pagaille, particularly if, as Ed said, it's going to be at least good to soft anyway on the first day, which it'll definitely be. So
I'm going to ask you a selection for the National Hunt Chase and also your nap for day 1, and then we'll move on to day 2 racing. So I'll start with you, Hugh. Your bet for this race and then your nap.
Next destination each way. It's not one of no bet. So if he goes for the RSA, then you're okay. And my nap of the day is an Ergomain without Shishkin, the Arkle.
Shrewd operator here.
It's a winner, Hugh. It's a winner.
Oh, we know how to drink, I think.
Andrew, same question.
Let's carry a 10 if he rocks up here.
Wow.
Each way, and appreciate it probably.
Ed?
I'll be laying Royal Pagai if he's less than 6-4 on the day. Ballyadam in the opener. I mean, my big one for the day is in the charity bet. So, do we want that now on the opening day, or do we want to save it for later? I'll let those in charge decide. So.
Whoa! I'd say leave it. Yeah,
leave it. All right, we'll leave it to the end. Yeah,
we both went with the right one.
I've got something else in the race we haven't talked about for later. Yeah.
Great.
Jack?
For me, Galvin in this at 9-2, and my nap of the day is going to go to handicap. It's Lieutenant Rocco in the Ultima. I think he looks bang on here off 147. I think he's a mid 150s horse, especially if Ascaria 10 goes to the National Hunt Chase. I think he'd go off 5-1. 3 miles at a 5 will be like really nice for him. He took 3 miles really nice in the way he jumps. He absolutely steals lengths out of them. I think he's 7-1 now. He's short enough for me, but I think he's my nap of day one.
Dan, your nap?
Yeah, I read good advice off someone off Twitter. Sorry, in this race anyway, it's Galvin, but I read some good advice on Twitter. It's saying, the likes of the Stayers Hurdle, the Champion Hurdle, the main races are so competitive, stay away from them. But I am going to nap Honeysuckle at 5-2. I do think she's a really good price, and I just genuinely think if she's there at the bench, she's going to win. So she's my nap for day one. Honeysuckle at that 5-2 price right now. I do think she'll shorten. So yeah, I think that's a really good price.